helped to explore Now Comment a little bit and how they're using it. And as you saw, he's unable to, with good reason, I think. Glad he's navigating that professional and personal balance and asking for what he needed. So we'll circle back to him on an upcoming session to explore that research team further. Sort of the big ideas for tonight, most of the time we'll be really turning it over to Paul, who I've asked to help give us some tips, some big ideas, some further explanation, and maybe a little practice as he, sees.
Mainly practice, yeah.
All right, appropriate for us to really get comfortable in Kumo space and Now Comment, depending on the time and what everyone needs. But part of that has come because people have expressed either in an email or through connecting that they love Kumo space, and it's not always there. And I say I'm one of these folks. You're anticipating, okay, how do I get there? I have to say, when I was with Craig's group for the individual practitioner, he said, go to the drink cart that you want. And I was thinking, drink cart? Where's the drink cart? And so Paul's going to help us to get a little bit more comfortable with navigating this space so that we can really maximize the potential of it. Because I think there's a tremendous amount of potential and freedom that can come in being able to connect with folks really anytime you want and to have this space open. So that's how we'll spend most of our time. But I did want to, give Art an opportunity to offer anything to the group. And then I'll have Pat and or Catherine and Juanita, if she's here. And then Craig offered just a little reflection about a couple of things happening currently in the community. So again, welcome to everybody. Art, would you like to offer anything to the group?
Did he hear you? I'm not sure.
Maybe not. Art, would you like to offer anything to the group?
Well, I think what you just said is fine. I'm anxious to join in whenever possible.
All right. Well, we'll dive in because I know that we were talking and there are some things that I know you are interested in exploring. Well, first off, we'll take just a couple of minutes before we turn it over to Paul. And I asked that Craig, who I think you all know has been exploring and leading really the facilitation of the pilot for the individual practitioner pathway. And I had the opportunity to join and listen in as that group launched, and just had the opportunity to read some of the reflections. But I thought it would be helpful to just a couple of minutes for Craig to offer reflections of what he's noticed in these first couple of weeks. They're in the awareness badge of really learning and reconnecting to the habits of mind. So Craig, you want to take it away and just share a couple of impressions or reflections from these first 2 weeks?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
I've been having problems all day on Zoom calls, so I'm glad you can hear me. With students or with adults that they are working with. And of course, as always, there are different levels of commitment when it comes to that. So some of the individuals are speeding right through and they're already at module 7 or 8 of the 10 or 11 that we have. Some are still at module 2 and really trying to interact with their learners, whether students or adults, and asking some really interesting questions about bringing the idea of the habits and incorporating the ideals of building an awareness really seriously, and having a lot of fun learning along with whomever they're interacting with. So, Liz, if you wouldn't mind, would you share just a little bit about your experience so far, and then I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, it was. I find it's very easy to navigate. It's very smooth. I like the 3-minute videos, they're just the right size. I like the fact that there are opportunities to interact with other people in the discussion, but there's also that personal, write a note for yourself that nobody else will see. So I think the timing of the whole thing is perfect. As I'm going through it, it's like, okay, I've absorbed something. Now I'm ready to think about it, reflect on it, write something. I have different opportunities. So I think it's very well planned out. I'm enjoying it. It's easy to navigate. And it really, I jumped into the habits going right into the practitioner teacher kind of thing. And this plan is making me look more of it as reflecting as at a personal level. And I'm thinking that's an important thing to do before we go to the other step. So I think, my circumstances just forced me into the other. But I think having this background and really looking at it and personalizing it for myself is very, very important. And I'm only on level 2. I guess I've got through 2 modules. So I guess I'm one of these flip-ups.
You're perfect. You're perfect. Right where you should be. Yeah, I've heard many of the same things from one of our Spanish teachers who's involved, that she has really liked having that opportunity to watch a couple of videos, try something out, reflect, rather than reading through the book that she was trying to read through, what was activating and engaging, I think it was, because she says that it helps her to be more metacognitive as she goes through it with her students. The one potential drawback, now we've heard from 4 different teachers, or the timing of the year, in that it's coming up when grad courses are wrapping up. It's coming up now as AP and IB testing is happening. It's occurring simultaneously with the into the school year, and some of those teachers are feeling an overwhelming amount of stress to try to do all of those balancing acts simultaneously. So Ben and I have just very briefly talked about potentially not doing it at this time of the year, but trying to figure out when would the most effective times for all practitioners be, to make sure that we can make this as positive as possible. The last thing, I have received just this weekend a few other requests for when the next set of opportunities to engage in the badge opportunity might happen, and they're thinking down the road, August, September, October. So it does seem like there's a lot of interest, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to learn from this experience and keep on rolling.
Yeah, thank you both for sharing. I had a conversation with someone today who's really excited about the June, and I think having that choice over the course of the year for people to figure out when makes the most sense for me. And just an observation that I had from listening really at the beginning is how the group really developed trust as a cohort by meeting face to face, and then having some of those structured times outside of the learning paths to connect, and the intentionality. So I'm excited to see how things develop, and how this is just going to really build both individual and system capacity toward the future. So thanks for taking the pilot on, and for all the lessons I know that you're learning and sharing.
And thanks for that.
Appreciate it.
Thing I hadn't heard, so that was very helpful as well.
Thank you. All right. So our next piece, just a couple minutes before we turn it over to Paul, Art made reference to this as we just started this evening. At our last gathering, Pat, Juanita, and Catherine presented the idea of, they've been exploring mentor schools and presented the idea of a survey in relationship to for certified schools to really gather some information, but also shape how we move forward. So I asked them just to give us a little information, and Craig helped to place the Google Doc where you all will have an opportunity at any point to go in, and certainly after this call, to go in and give your feedback to help shape that. So Pat, Catherine, you want to share just a couple of minutes about that, and then we'll help everyone know where to navigate.
And Juanita, who's been the stalwarts, you know, I've been kind of missing in action. So they did a brilliant job. I got to see it, and I'm thankful for being kept in that loop. So I'll turn it over to either one of you.
Okay. Juanita apologizes, but I don't think she's going to be able to make it tonight. She's going to try, but she's not. We are looking for input. We put down some ideas that we had in the Google Doc that we will then take and put into some survey. I don't know if the Institute has something that they use, whether they use Google Forms or SurveyMonkey or what have you. But what we did is we just put together some thoughts about what do we want to know from the potential mentor schools, from all the certified schools, you know, what's their background, what's a little bit about their backstory, and then what might they have wanted if they had an opportunity to have some mentor schools, and would they be willing to possibly be a mentor school in the future. We put together a chart of different, that I talked about last time, of some different options of what might be some possibilities for different functions. Some are consulting, some are more just networking with opportunities. So we're looking for comments from all you wise people about how might this survey be improved, what are we missing, what aren't we thinking of, what might be some changes in wording that we might need to have. Just any comments that you have are greatly welcome. We also have to have a bigger picture of, like, how is the school certification in total going to be run out? What is the exact process that I know folks are still working on? And that's kind of it. So Craig, where can folks find it?
It's just up and to the right of Liz's head.
Okay.
Do you see it, Pat?
Yep.
Here, I'll bring it down to everybody. There. Now it's right in the middle of all of us.
Okay. So I don't know, Michelle, how you want to organize this, whether you want people to just put, it is a Google Doc with commenting possibilities if people want to take a couple minutes and look at it, or if you want them to just do it sort of after the fact. That's totally up to you, Michelle. But
my thinking is that, well, just maybe a minute or two or a couple minutes for if anybody has a question that they want to pose that might help shape how they engage with the concept and the Google Doc. But my thinking is that we know it lives here and that we can all come back to the doc, and that Paul might help, depending on what he has in store for us tonight. Some folks might find their way back to the Google Doc and add to it. But any questions or wonderings from the group before we really turn it over to Paul, but knowing that the survey will live here and that Pat, Catherine, and Juanita really are, the Institute's really seeking feedback and your thinking. I had the chance to go in today, and it generated a lot of wonderings and questions I put a couple in, and then I thought, just wait, because once everybody else puts their thinking in, I know it'll generate even more. If Art pops back in, he might have a couple of thoughts that he'd like to share, and then we're going to turn it over to Paul. Art, I'm not sure if you had the chance to hear Pat or not, but
no, I was wondering. It's important for a mentor school to embody the habits of mind, to use them both personally and the staff, but also in the operation of the school. And I'm wondering if it would be possible to ask for some indicators that the habits of mind have become part of the living of the school, part of the ways that you operate together. I can remember, for example, in Catherine's school at Waikiki, that they would discuss the habits of mind prior to a staff meeting and determine which habits of mind would be useful for the faculty meeting to experience at the time. In other words, that there would be indicators of how it has become embodied, I guess is the word, or part of the living of the school. And I think that's absolutely crucial. Maybe it's too early to ask that, but at some point, I think the schools need to reveal how they have incorporated as part of the lifeblood of the school.
Thank
Nice
you, Art.
question.
That was a question that Juanita and I had, and a wondering we had was, would some of that be answered if already, or do we need?
So Pat, I didn't hear your question. You froze.
Yeah.
Could you repeat your
you want to go back
question
to,
one more time?
would that be answered? That's where we lost you.
I don't know what's going on. I haven't changed anything. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering if the information that Art just talked about, is that answered in the documentation that schools submit when they become certified, or do we need to ask it here? I don't want to ask them to duplicate something that they've already produced for the Institute. That's Juanita's and my question. And hence at the top of the form, it's the highlighted question for the group.
Dana, I'm wondering your response to that, given you're both a consultant and a leader at a certified school.
You know, I wasn't paying attention, Michelle. Sorry. I have been listening, and so evidence of the school and using the habits. Yes. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, and I almost wish Sharon was here today. We're going through some real cultural shifts coming out of the pandemic, and for our correctional facilities, what we call our endemic phase. We're also kind of reimagining what it means to be a school for adult incarcerated individuals. And so we do, I just heard a few minutes ago, before faculty meetings, I call it the Michelle DeBellis question, but what habits of mind would serve us well today? And as we go into cultural change and rethinking and reorganizing ourselves, it's given us this wonderful opportunity to kind of step back, make sure we're reflecting and not reacting, we're managing our impulsivity, thinking flexibly. And one of our teachers the other day had shared, how did she put that? Is it thinking with empathy? She kind of twisted the empathy a little bit, but really thinking about the students we serve, being at the center of our work. So to me, that's some of the evidence that I would see in a school that's really embraced habits, is that you're constantly seeing that up front. And using it, we often will, for our students, say, can we see, or can you show us evidence of you using habits of mind in increasingly difficult situations, coping skills? Same for us as faculty. It's easy to use our habits when things are smooth and we enjoy how things are going. But how do we engage with the habits when we need to change a practice, when we need to reflect on something that may, is challenging our mental model?
Having listened to you, Dana, I can see like the idea that even though you would have indicators in your certification plan, you might have additional things that you've discovered that aren't in that certification plan that could be of use in the survey.
I would echo and agree with that, Catherine. Art, the question that Art offers, and thank you, Dana, for sharing, the question that Art offered, I think is something that as you spend time in the Google Doc, and I'd encourage each of you, even if it's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, to put any question or wondering that you have down, and to not let what you think how schools might feel about it stop you from putting your thoughts down, because all of those thoughts, I think, will help to shape what becomes the actual survey. So almost approach the Google Doc with some brainstorming in mind, that every idea could be, is valuable and will contribute to what I think will be a really useful survey for the schools.
Could I ask Pat a question? I'm wondering what the connection is between the process of becoming certified questions and the chart below it. Is the chart giving them some suggestions of things they might be involved in as a mentor? And what are we supposed to do with that chart? Yeah.
What the chart is when Catherine and Juanita and I worked, we thought, what are some possible options for mentor schools to be doing?
Right.
Could they be, would they be just like recording some videos, doing some or would they be doing networking? Would they be open to site visits? That's where the chart came from, is just potential ideas. And this again is a work in progress, because we probably haven't thought of all the ways that mentor schools can help other schools.
Right.
So the chart is something for them to maybe fill in something they're willing to do, or indicate that it's something they're interested in, or they could add some other ideas. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's two documents.
Just to clarify that, we did speak to schools, and we spoke to potential mentor schools to kind of see what they might want to offer, and then added to that, just as a place to begin.
Carol, you had a question?
Just a clarification. So the document is really maybe what will eventually be two separate documents, one of which is a survey and the other of which is a menu of options for people to consider?
Potentially.
We hadn't gotten to the point where we were decided if it's going to be two separate documents, one document, and I think we need to have some further discussion about that.
Yeah. We would really encourage you, if you have a few minutes, whether it's at the end of tonight or at any point, to add your thinking and perspective to the Google Doc. Thank you for sending it. Craig, thank you for placing it in Kumo Space. And thank you in advance, everyone, for being willing to take a couple of minutes and add your thinking and perspectives and wonderings and questions in. want to turn it over to Paul Allison, who has agreed to help us all get even more comfortable with the potential of Kumo Space and the resources, and I think through some application and practice. But Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I want to keep this real and very connected to what we were just talking about here, if we can. So so after working through looking at the video with Michelle a few weeks ago, looking at last month's video. So we have been recording these sessions over the past 2 months, and we've been putting the recordings of those up on YouTube, and then putting the YouTube video on Now Comment. So one use case, the question that I want to have for the whole group is what Michelle and I ended up with at the end of my showing her how to annotate a video, right? Which is why, right? And I think that's a really important question for this group to think about. Okay, we can do this. There are lots of tools here we can do on Now Comment, but what would be the purpose for this community for doing that? I think that's an important question. In that one use case, which I'll show you. The second use case is the one that just came up here. You could put your comments on a Google Doc, and that has a lot of benefit. Or you could put that document on Now Comment, and there could be, in my opinion, a richer kind of conversation that could happen around that document. But maybe you don't want that richer conversation, right? So I think these are two actually good use case questions about why use Now Comment. Does that make some sense? Talk back to me. These two things?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And while we're doing that, we will brush against some of the features of Kumo Space here. And the same question is always in my mind about that. Like, okay, so if we're just going to sit here in this one spot, like, why would this community use Kumo Space, right? And that's, so probably it's not an effective tool for that. But so we want to think about tools in terms of, why we're using them and what solutions what problems they're addressing, if that makes some sense, or what visions they're addressing. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. Okay, and when I do that, at the top there is well, maybe I'll just do it and then you'll see. Yes. Okay, so I'm now sharing the Habits of Mind homepage. At the top, let me just go back to see what you're seeing. At the top where it says Paul Allison's screen, and then way over to the right, it's a black bar. If you hit 4 arrows, you'll enter full screen. And you'll see everybody bigger, right? And you'll see what I'm showing you bigger. So has everyone managed to do that? Give me a thumbs up if you're in here. Yep. All right. So that's actually a nice feature, by the way. But again, why? But okay. So I'm going to go here and show you what we've set up here so far. If you go to Now Comment, and I should have shown you this already. Yeah. Let me circle back for a second. Well, you're in here now. Never mind. I do want you to, we're going to stop my demonstration part here in a second, and I want you to go to Now Comment and log in so that you're all ready to do that. But you'll see we have 3 groups. We have an assessment group, we have a research group, and we have meetups. I'm just going to focus in on meetups for a second. So I clicked on meetups, and now I'm sharing this tab instead, right? It comes, everyone sees the meetup tab?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. And then within meetups, because there may be other kinds of meetups, not just these Monday meetups that happen at different times that get recorded you want to put up. So there might be different kinds of collections eventually. But right now there's a collection for the monthly meetings. And I've clicked on that tab and now yeah, did that work? It did. Okay, so now we're seeing the two videos. Right. I'm having to find the right place here. Okay. Now you're seeing the two videos that are up. There's the March video and there's the April video, right? Let's come to the April video. And what I'd love for us to do is have some experience of annotating this video together. And then to pull back and say, okay, well, you know, what are the use cases? When would we want to be able to do this? Let me make sure. Good. Okay, so very, very quick tutorial on this. The way it works is you press play. It begins to play.
Bottom line.
I'm actually
so
halfway into the video.
Here's my question, or I'm just throwing it out there for now.
So there's Philip talking.
Is there some flexibility?
Hopefully it's not too confusing and different screens, but okay. So when I want to make a comment,
that might
I go here and I find add comment.
The consultant, the mentor.
If at the current time is good, I hit at a current time. Notice it gives me a timestamp. It gives me two boxes. One box I can add up to 255 characters. So you want to summarize there or say something quickly there. Lots of ways to use that to think about. And then the box below you can add as much as you'd like. Worth noting, you can also add a video. So you could say, hey, here's a video of how that worked in my class. Or hey, here's an image that clarifies that. You can add image, video, or you can add links to your comments as well. Okay, so so I'm writing. Can you see the pop-up? I hope.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Sometimes you don't know. Here's and then add more. So there's a little bit to learn there, but that's how you start the comment. Notice over here on the right side, it gives you the timestamp. Now when I click on that comment, and there could be, you'll see later on if we have time, on the article that Art wrote, chapter 2, that lays out all the habits of mind, there are, I think, over 435 comments at this point. So what I would argue is that one of the reasons to use Now Comment is that it makes it easy for there to be hundreds of comments. So again, if you don't want to have 100 comments on a document, why use it? But it does make it easy for that. When you click on any comment, it pulls back the video to that spot, and then you can watch that spot of the video and see the comment. Just quickly to add here, and this often happens, you're listening to the video and you're saying, hey, wait, I want to comment like 5 seconds earlier. You can hit at a different point and go in here and change this to 30 seconds and then add your comment there. Now, let me ask you, just to talk back a little bit. Have you annotated video before? Is it a conceptual, honestly, it's for some people, it's like, oh my God, you can annotate video, it stops, it starts. I mean, I get excited about it, but some other people are like, why would I do that? So talk back a little bit. What do you think about this? Catherine,
I used it with teachers. I wanted them to go to a certain point in the video because it referred to something we had been discussing. So I just said, here you'll see whatever related to what we were doing in the group. So that's the way I would use it.
Worth mentioning, every comment has its unique URL. So you can... Other thoughts?
I like the fact that you could provide evidence in the link. You could link evidence. You could actually add a piece of your own video, something that you did that you videotaped in your own classroom or in a session. So it gives a lot of specification to the answer to that question.
Nothing. I was going to say basically the exact same thing. So +1 to that one.
I'm practicing wait time. Anybody else have a thought?
I'm wondering, when you were talking about annotating it, and there were 400 and something comments or to what was going on, and people are linking other things to it, how might you scroll it, or just say you were looking for a certain thing, or categorize it, or maybe those examples would be in a category if they're linked to that particular document, than having to go down each one. I haven't utilized this before, so this might not be the right question, but when I heard you say 400 and something, I was thinking, and then she said you could link different things to it. It would be kind of cumbersome to go through all of them to find what. Can you explain that a little?
There are search functions and so forth. I think I will, if there's time here, I'll try to show the article I referred to, so it'll make some sense to you. You can tag you can tag comments as well, so there are ways to collect different things. Yeah, good questions. I don't know.
I guess what I was asking, if just say one of the consultants or teachers linked videos or resources, could that be in another category? I mean, is there a way that videos and resources and whatever from that particular comment or whatever page that was, is there a way that we can get to that without going through all the other comments? That was mine.
Yeah, we just have to think it through.
Paul, I have a question.
Sure.
At the top, there seems to be ways of sharing, like a tweet, a Facebook. Up at the top, I'm looking.
Yeah.
If you were looking for something specific, would it be a probability that you could take a group and tweet to them or send it to them specifically so they could link in there?
Sure. Again, let me just show you that this silly comment that I made here, when I scroll across it, I get a show comment URL. I get the URL there, then I could share that anywhere I'd like, right? And that takes them directly to that comment.
I'm wondering, Paul, before you go to, I'm wondering just so far, what are impressions about how this might help us as a community? Which is
it's just the annotating video part of it. Yep.
Just that before we go farther. How does this make sense for us as a community? What are some things that what are some benefits?
Hi, I'm thinking kind of from the IPP standpoint. If a video was shared and then we asked the group to add on with examples of what maybe they have tried or resources that they have created, then as you move along the video, it might come to a point where there's multiple examples that somebody might peruse connected to the idea that's in the first video. Whether that's the most effective way or not, I think that might be a worthy discussion. I don't know yet. But it does seem like when you are looking at a video, oftentimes you have to either then move to a different resource to find other examples. And so to have a set of examples connected to a video might be a very interesting way to continue a thought or explore different ideas related to what you've been viewing. That's just something that came to my mind as Paul was describing it.
So you're building like a little collection as
almost a curating point around an idea. Yeah.
I was going to say, in addition, I've used it to give feedback to teachers who submit videos. So if they submit a video of something in their class, then I can give feedback of things that I'm seeing and point out how they're using the habits or something that's very effective or a suggestion for something else they might try.
Well, right there, thank you for sharing that, Liz. When we think of the process that as we continue to develop, whether it's helping a new consultant to develop and they're sharing resources or artifacts, or in the individual practitioner where they're sharing resources and artifacts, that idea of being able to annotate right then in the moment in the video and not have something else could tremendously, I think, impact the quality of the interaction, because you eliminate a whole nother resource that you have to have, and then it lives for that person as well as for somebody in the institute. Oh, that's a great idea.
In your mentor schools,
Absolutely.
If you have a mentor school present a tape, and then you want to point things out to other schools that are considering this, that would be a very powerful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that being really relevant.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we look at another use case?
Sure.
That I'm going to share screen again. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Again, go to full screen. You do that on your own. We don't do it for you. Just to say. So I'm going to click. Everyone is seeing this now. Yeah. This, by the way, the page here is nowcomment.com/home/IHOM, right? So it should be easy to get to, and when you log in here, you'll stick on this page. The research work that has started a little bit, there are 3 dissertations that we have up on NowComment, right? And there isn't a lot of commentary here yet, but if we go to Sarah's, am I doing? Wait, sorry, I need to do that. So this is the research group. Everybody has access here, but if I click on Sarah's, here are the. Sure, yeah, you're seeing it. Sorry, I'm just checking to see what you're saying. Here are the 5 chapters, right? And you can see that there are a couple of comments here and there, but one could go in. So they did have a meeting. It was only an hour long, right? So they were in 3 different groups. Philip ran the meeting, and people were invited to comment. Want to point out again, just because you're invited to comment, like, you got to have time, you got to have energy, you got to be able to do it, right? And so we want to think about the value of putting some of this stuff up. But I think it is, over time, the value grows. But if I click on Philip's first comment here, it goes down to paragraph 17. We can kind of see where his comment is coming from. And then we could reply to it, and so there could be a branching conversation under any of these comments. Okay? And while this is here, I want to point out, you can also, this is an image. This right here, you can highlight any section of an image and make a comment on that section of an image. A beautiful photograph or a painting, you could, like, highlight just a section of the painting and comment on that section. So those are some of the capabilities here. So that's another use case. What I could do pretty easily is take the Google Doc. I want to get back to the, what we talked about in the first half hour there. Take that Google Doc and put it on Now Comment, and then we would have this ability to have this conversation. Is that worth doing, or is it not necessary? I want to stop and just hear what you're thinking at this point.
For me, I'll say I think it's we won't know if it's helpful unless we try to figure it out. And
there is that back and forth. Yeah.
I absolutely think that the annotation of the video, Liz, what your comments sparked a whole, list of possibilities, I think. But I think just trying it out. The whole thing is new for me. I'm probably the most novice of anybody here related to this. And it was pretty easy when you taught me how to do it. Now, if I don't use it and I don't go back to it, I'm going to, it's not going to be
That's a problem. Yes.
Yeah. But I think, but how does everybody else feel if we try it out with this, this survey? I'm willing to say I'll, be on in Kumo space at a certain time if it would be helpful, and we could try it together, outside of this meeting.
Just to say, you wouldn't have to be in Kumo space to do it,
right?
But it is a way to support.
So Paul, you could just post it and send us the link or whatever, and we could just go in at our own leisure and make comments.
Right, because we all have leisure. No,
right.
No, I just want to keep pointing out that, if we, the video is a wonderful thing, but if we really value it, then we might start the meetings with annotating last month's video for the first 15 minutes, right? So building in time to do this together is kind of important to do, I think.
I don't think we want to annotate last month's video. I'd rather see videos of things happening in schools that we could annotate.
I really think it's very valuable. I really do. It's just finding out how to utilize it. It allows me to be able to come in and ask you guys questions. And that's one of my main things, is to be able to ask questions to move forward, or either to comment on or enhance something. So I think it's very valuable.
I mean, honestly, I've done both. You could do the same things with this that you can do with Google Docs. The only thing is you can have greater specificity. So you can just pinpoint a little piece, whereas on Google Docs or in Google Slides, you're kind of limited to the slide, or a comment at the bottom. Whereas here, if you have several things on a slide, you can just pinpoint the little piece that you want. It could be a word you want to point out. So that's the difference. You can be more specific.
Go ahead, Art.
It also provides a linkage from one meeting to the next, in that if you didn't use that, the meeting would be over and it would be the end of an episode.
So it connects us after the meeting. Is that what you're saying, Art? It keeps us connected. Yeah.
All right, let me just want to show you one more thing, and then come back to conversation. I had hoped that you could go here, but I think that's kind of crazy. Just want to say, right above this area, there's a conference table, and there's a link there to the Habits of Mind homepage, and there's a link to this that I'm about to show you, which I need to see if I can.
Could we all go to the conference table?
Oh yeah, so you use your up arrow, and you'll find the conference table right here.
Or as Craig told me, move your mouse to where you want to go.
That works too.
Up above.
That works too. Yeah. You can actually drag the room now too. But yeah. So you don't have to go there now because I think it'll be confusing to be in two different Kumo spaces. But I'm going to show you another Kumo space just briefly and then link to the article that I've referred to a couple of times. And I'm going to see if I can do this without too much bother. This one. So this is a space where I did a workshop with a group of pre-service student teachers, right, at Lehman College in the Bronx. And we were introducing the habits of mind to them. All right, do you see the room?
Mm-hmm.
Good, okay. Just to say, because we knew it would be confusing, we covered up the B ones here. And the first thing they did when they came into this room, after we came up here and talked a little bit and said hello, is they found an A table. And they looked at, didn't know the habits of mind at all. They found an A table and they sat there that spoke to them for whatever reason. Either it was a habit that they were working on, a habit that they are really good at, or a habit that they hope to get better at, whatever, right? They pick one, and so the way this works is that people can sit on either side of the table. A couple people can just talk to each other about the habit. And then if you click on the habit itself, right? And I don't know if I picked the best one, but we'll see. Share this tab. It takes you to this article in Now Comment. And we ended up at the Thinking Flexibly, right, section of this article, this chapter from the book. And again, this is built over time. This is the one, this is the article. I'm going up quickly here, and it'll take a minute to catch up. But yeah, there are 431 comments, and then there are 36, right? And so you can see, I hope you can see, and you know, this may or may not be true, but the hope is that the comments over here, if you didn't want to look at them, wouldn't distract you too much from the text, because within the text you can click on any of these numbers and go see the 6 comments on this paragraph if you want to. Right? Wide range of people have been commenting, from high school students to teachers to, again, college students. Hasn't been a lot of replying, but there is some replying starting to happen here and there. Right? I was going to scroll down, and here's an example of a video that was placed in. This was placed in by a professor at Lehman. And she's commenting on where? Oh, she's commenting on this quote by adding a video that, you know, she was inspired to add because of that. Worth saying, it was a particular workshop where we were teaching people how to add multimedia to their comments, right? So it doesn't happen automatically. So we have to think about that kind of thing. So that's enough. We should probably just sort of talk about what you're thinking based on all of that. I mean, I will put the document, the Google document up on Now Comment, and Michelle will send that out to everybody. Now Comment's free. It's you know, if you're not a member yet, you can become a member very quickly, and we'll invite you as well if you haven't been invited already.
So thoughts. In our last couple of minutes, thoughts, please. James, Carol, we don't want to, trying to think, who haven't we heard impressions? Carol, I know you had a question earlier. with your adult learners, I guess, what are some applications that you see? How might this benefit us? Anything stand out for you?
I'm going to defer to James. He turned off his microphone first, and I'm still thinking.
Go for it.
Look, I'm some of the same questions. Yeah, lots of things you can do. Why would you do them? And I'm wondering, maybe selfishly, I've got the Habits of Mind profile tool that I've been developing that I'm almost ready to share with the community. So I'm wondering if a series of videos about this is how it works, this is what it does, might be a case study for how this this might be used. It'd be a great way to put the information out there rather than using this time. Let people watch it, comment on it, annotate it, and then have a discussion about what people were talking about in this space, rather than using this space to go, hey, this is what it's all about. It just might be a more efficient way of doing it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I can start putting those videos together. That would be easy.
Cool.
Yeah.
It does bring up the issue of getting stuff up on Now Comment, and I'm happy to help with that, and then hand it over to you as fast as possible. But there is a bit of a learning curve there.
In our last few minutes, other impressions, wonderings, what James offered in addition to commenting on the Google Doc in Now Comment sound like a reasonable place to move forward and experiment.
Yeah, I always learn best when I get a chance to actually try things out and do. I love the idea of both Paul and James' ideas of things up, letting us try it out, and then we have discussions afterwards.
Cool.
All right.
You'll connect James and myself, and we'll figure it out.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
Paul, quick question. If you threw a video up there, say about the 16 habits, one video goes for about 2 years, whatever. Can you sort of bookmark stages for people to jump to?
Yes, by adding comments, and then those comments become,
So your comment could be chapter 1, topic A, chapter 2, and people could jump straight to there. Yeah, that would be useful.
Right. Yep, that works that way.
Well, Paul, thank you.
Thank you
for taking us one step further, for giving us a lot to consider. And I appreciate the question of really, does this make sense? And why would we use this? And how might we use this? And certainly there are lots of possibilities, and we want it to be meaningful and supportive for each of you in the community. So as we end our time, a big thank you to all of you who were able to be here, and just for what you do that we may or may not even know about, that continues to just share and spread the value and benefits of Habits of Mind in your community and in your families. And so thank you. We usually take a summer break from these formal monthly gatherings just because travel schedules for folks, and it's just oftentimes history has shown it's a challenging time for everybody to come together. So we push the pause button and reconnect in the fall. What I'm thinking is, and I'll connect with certainly Allison, Art, and Benna around this, but that idea of we might use some of the time that we have between our formal monthly meetings to engage in some of these experiences with James's video and the mentor text, and jump on as we need to. So I'll circle back in our original thinking with the leadership team to figure out, does it make sense to push the pause, or maybe it just looks a little different this summer, so that we stay connected and stay applying what we're all learning. If that sounds good to the group.
Yes, excellent.
Well, we
Thank you,
certainly
Michelle.
thank you, Art. We certainly appreciate you all and all that you do. Art, thanks for being here and just all that you've done over all these years to just continue to bring Habits of Mind forward to make a difference in the world.
It continues to grow.
Yes, it does. Paul, thanks for the little tutorial.
Sure.
And
I'm
Pat,
available. Let me know if you need anything.
Thank you. And I'll connect you and James.
Cool.
Cool.